that the nutrients could accumulate again, the soy was used as one of those products that were used to return the nitrogenous base to the soil. It was not until the invention of fermentation there in the Chinese dynasty. I'm not sure which dynasty it was, but I think it was in 328 BC or thereabouts, that the fermenting process began to take the soy plant and create certain things like miso and tempeh. These products were the byproduct of fermentation of this soy. It then grew out into all these other types of products, but the effects that the Chinese knew the soy has, they would never have used it by itself as a food until they could have filtered out all of the phytoestrogenic material that soy contained. See, the thing about soy is just like any other plant or plant life. Plants create their own biotoxins to protect themselves. In other words, in order to ward off an enemy, they would create certain things in their system that would be noxious to the one that they know would normally eat them. Now, there's some animals, of course, that overcome the poison, but the one poison that the soy developed in order to keep animals away from it was birth control. In other words, the soy created a toxin. The soy plant created a toxin that if the animals keep eating it, they would surely but surely become extinct. And therefore, the soy would live on. So what the Chinese had found out is that they had to ferment the materials in order to destroy that particular kind of chemical bond, which they say is a small amount of, but it's just enough to disrupt your whole endocrine system, because you don't need a lot to destroy or disrupt your endocrine system. It's a very delicate system. And so the plant disrupts the endocrine system, and you essentially die off as a species if you keep using the soy plant in any concentrated amounts or concentrated doses. Right. The fermenting process was supposed to have removed it, but it doesn't remove as much, because if you take a lot over a long period of time, doesn't matter how much you ferment the soy, you will be getting phytoestrogenic residuals. Now, it was found that soy given to men in small quantities quickly subverted their androgenic materials inside of their body, because the molecules that the soy protein or the soy produces completely destroys the testosterone's integrity in the body. Soy phytoestrogens inhibit, now this is the secret here, the soy phytoestrogens inhibit an enzyme that is vital to the synthesis of testosterone and the development of the central nervous system's what is known as gonadoaxis. In other words, the central nervous system is connected to the endocrine system in such a way that their interplay creates certain types of materials in the system that keep the male principle in balance. The phytoestrogens in soy causes a disruption of the making of those enzymes by the pituitary or by the hypothalamus and by the other glands in the endocrine system, so that proper estrogen synthesis, proper testosterone synthesis does not take place.
Let me ask you
In fact, the study was done not just on humans, which came later. The study of soy and phytoestrogens were done on male insects, all the way up from grasshoppers, that is, all the way up to the cheetah and to the gorillas. Mm-hmm. And what was found that soy male animals, from the grasshopper to the cheetah, now check this out, people, the animals tested with the soy were less confident, less aggressive, they were indecisive, they were less sexually interested in their female partners, they had a lower sperm count, and in some studies, anything having to do with male had completely disappeared. In other words, they had, in the higher animals, they had significant testicular shrinkage, as well as significant brain shrinkage. Now, I want to impress upon the brothers and sisters listening out there what these tests revealed and what it is that the people pushing soy don't tell you. In other words, it was found that the people who pushed soy the most had the least to talk about the science about soy. The ones who didn't push the soy had copious amounts of studies to show what soy does. But those who have the money to push soy, those who have a financial vested interest in the byproducts that create the products of markets for the soy product, those have a greater interest in suppressing the kind of knowledge that you're listening to today.
Now let me ask you this, Dr. Valentine, for clarity. You know, from what I understand, there are over like 10,000 varieties of soybeans. So when you say soy, do you mean the genetically engineered soy and the processed soy, or is it okay to sometimes consume the the more fermented soys like the miso and the tempeh that has the B12 in it?
Well, the B12 can be gotten from other sources other than the animal, and the best place to get it would be from the tempeh. But again, they cannot. Again, going on to talk about the test, there are different types of soy, yes, but the basis of all soy is the same family. The soy was created in all these different variations in order to try to filter out the phytoestrogenic materials, and they didn't. So essentially, because soy became such a heavy market, they began creating different types of soys, or at least cultivating or giving a chance to cultivate the different hybrids of soy, because soy actually is a creature of its environment. In other words, the reason why they have so many different species of soy is because soy adapts to the environment, the soil environment, the rain environment, the sun environment. So it looks different, but the soy essentially is only different because of the kind of environment that it has to survive in. Now, they have certain soy that are anti-estrogenic, but they're not actually cultivating that, and that's not the stuff that's going into the food. What is going into the food are the highly phytoestrogenic materials that are creating the conditions, especially in babies when they give that soy formula to the children. When you give a child soy formula, for instance, a woman who is not breastfeeding or is beyond the point of breastfeeding into, I guess, what they call the 8th, 9th, and 10th month, when they feed their child, they're feeding their children soy products at a rate of maybe 2 to 3 to 8 bottles a day. So, for instance, a mother may feed their child about 3 to 8 bottles of soy formula a day. 8 bottles of soy formula are tantamount to giving your child something in the avenue of 6 to 9 birth control pills.
Right. And let me interject this, Dr. Valentine. I'm definitely familiar with what you're speaking of in terms of the baby formulas alone, like the Carnation, Alsoy, Similac, Neocare, Insulin, Inflamil, Prosobi. They all have copious amounts of soy in it, like you said. Morningstar, Better Burgers, Betty Crocker, Bacon Bits, all that kind of stuff. Now, let me ask you this. I was reading Keating's book called Population War, and he referenced an article called The Environmental Estrogens that was taken out of the Lancet in January of 1994.
Right.
And they were talking about the phytoestrogens that are obtained from vegetables that were more beneficial for your body, such as rye, bread, legumes, unrefined grain, and soy. And they said these vegetable-based phytoestrogens were linked to lower incidence of colon cancer, breast cancer, and other reproductive diseases. So are these the other phytoestrogens that you were speaking of that could be beneficial?
Yes. The phytoestrogens that we're speaking about do not have the same reaction to the estrogen receptor sites.
Okay. So they do have it in some unrefined soy products?